Hi everybody, and welcome back to Isola TV with the Isola.design talks. Today we're going to meet someone that maybe you already met in the past, and but with a new project. We're talking about Jeffrey Forrest, who is the founder of Stackabl and Stacklab, and Stackabl is a new furniture company that has the aim to turn waste into wonders. So I'm glad to welcome Jeffrey on the stage to talk with him about that. Hi, Jeffrey.
Hi, Maria. How are you doing?
Fine, thanks. And you?
I'm doing great. It's morning here in
Okay.
Canada, so good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, we're here it's afternoon, so going to evening. Let's talk about the new company Stackabl that it's you launched a few a few weeks ago actually. And how has it been the path of Stacklab and then Stackabl? Tell me about that.
Well, that is it's a long story, but I'll put it
Yeah.
shortly. Basically, Stack Lab is our core design office, and I would think of it as the place where intellectual property is developed. And Stackabl is a venture where we've basically licensed IP and turned it into its own business with the goal of scale. And so I would say that the difference between Stack Lab and Stackabl is really based on business rather than design. Really, our goal with Stackabl is to achieve scale, and it becomes a little bit complicated to attract investment when we have a bunch of ideas on a balance sheet. In this case, there's one sole aim: it's to upcycle material and put it in users' hands, and we can do that more effectively as a singular brand, and that's what Stackabl is.
Yes, and actually, the most interesting thing that it's Stackable is the turning waste into wonders. And I want to talk some more about that. I mean, about the importance of circular economy, reuse of materials, and the option that you put in the hands of the consumer, consumer to produce their own piece of design with the leftovers of the companies. How this process work? What's the beginning of the process and then the end of it?
Well, with us, I have to go back a little bit and explain that I have a very specific view of what design is.
Yeah.
I'll explain that first. In my world, or to my thinking, it's fundamentally applied critical thinking and problem solving, right? And so I'm agnostic with respect to how we apply design. To me, I'm just interested in problem solving. And in the course of my career, I've identified a lot of problems, frankly, in manufacturing and in the way things are made, even the reason why things are made. And so we start with material. I don't set out to make chairs or set out to make homes or anything like that. Really, my goal is to take what seems to be a very, very large amount of overstock material that's piling up in manufacturers' facilities across, really across the world in the case of
Yeah.
textiles. But because we're focusing regionally, I would say that within 100 miles of my studio, even, there's a lot of textile being accumulated. And I see that as a problem for two reasons. One, it is expensive, particularly in North America, to store and to heat and to manage. And secondly, I think it makes facilities less productive because there's square footage being devoted to something that doesn't really do anything when it could be devoted to active manufacturing, right? And so, and my belief, and this is backed by data and regular correspondence with the people we work with, is that if there was less cost associated with storage and more emphasis placed on production, some of the people that are local to my area would be more competitive. So compared to, for example, overseas manufacturing. So it all starts with that problem, and that became the basis of our system. We built a system around what to do with that material, and in this case, we have decided it should be a series of furnishings because it works well with the available sizes of offcuts that are readily available. And so down the road, we might have other applications for it and potentially even different materials. But for right now, it's really well suited from a scalar perspective to furniture, and that's where we start.
Okay, yes, and also because I think that this kind of also thinking of production can be like then reproduced used also for other kind of materials, other kind of furniture in the future. I mean, now it is textile and furniture because it's, I mean, seating, it's maybe as you said, the the best way of reuse the textile, but maybe in the future will be some other material and will be some other kind of furniture, right?
Exactly, exactly. In fact, Stackabl um, is not defined by its use of remnant felt,
Yeah.
recycled PET, which is water bottle plastic, wood, and post-consumer scrap aluminum. Those are the four materials that we're using now
Yes.
in the current product. Really, Stackabl is defined by the system, and the
Hmm.
system is a series of algorithms that first and foremost taps into manufacturers' digital inventories,
Yes.
um, organizes different inventories into a singular bank, and then gives users like you a front end interface to convert that material into usable objects. So that's what Stackabl is. Right now, it happens to be used for those materials I mentioned, but down the
Yes,
road, it
of
can be
course.
used for other materials and potentially other scales and other purposes.
Yes, of course. And also because I think this is also important about uh, the topic of the local design, the local use of the resource. Maybe we have. I mean, the data of the waste of some companies. I mean, it's more important the one that are maybe nearby me, and so I want to design something that is coherent with my production, my country, my place, and so in the future maybe will be uh, a reuse of this. No, it's right of what I'm saying or not?
It is. I think there's an incredible opportunity to take this infrastructure and bring it to other locales. And for example, in Mexico, there's a rich textile tradition,
Yes,
and materials. There's a ceramic tradition, and there's
yes,
all sorts of regionally available things that will accumulate overstock. And it would be very, very beautiful, I think, to bring the technology down there, work with regional manufacturers there, and come up with a different product that's sold. The same would be true of Italy or any other place in the world, and that's the goal for Stackabl is to start with what we have, gain some momentum, really get people invested in the idea of voting with their dollars. Buying things that speak to ethos,
yes,
um, and once that's established, spread the word.
yes. Okay, of course. And another interesting topic about Stackable is the robotic system you use and the also the use of even algorithms for making a design product at the end. Also because I used to talk also with a lot of artisans maybe or designers that are more interested in the um, artisan way of make a product. So it's interesting the robotic ways, the how and but how do you think this will affect the future of design?
That's a great question, and one I'm very passionate about. So I think to start, I'll explain that I am very agnostic when it comes to what problems we address and how we solve them. I think there is a good solution for every problem, and sometimes it involves technology, and sometimes it doesn't. I think if and for that very reason, that's why in my studio we don't make anything. We just
Yeah,
practice design. Okay. Because if I had, let's say, a KUKA robot in my studio, I would approach every project wanting to use my robot. If I was a woodworker, I would approach every project wanting to apply wood to that project.
Yes, of course.
And so there's a level of impartiality that we have that we bring to the table by not specializing in anything. Really, what we specialize in is the design process and finding the right solution for a problem. So, with that said, I'll say that robotics and software engineering are part of our toolkit. Certainly, they're like the same as a hammer, right, or a saw. You know, we use them sometimes where they're appropriate. And in this case, it's very appropriate to use it because software particularly gives us the opportunity to organize a lot of data quickly. And then, of course, robotics allows us to take that information and turn it quickly into things and allow for sort of mass customization in a way that doesn't require really expensive human resources. But I will say this on that note, that doesn't mean that people are getting replaced. And that's kind of the beautiful part about our product. So, for example, if you go onto our configurator and you make a chaise longue or a stool or something like that,
Yes.
Our software will immediately identify the size and the colors that you've selected, and it'll make recommendations based on what's readily available. And even what gives you good cutting yield, right? And you can go into those presets and say, yep, I like that one. And then you can kind of customize a little bit further.
Okay.
And all the while in the background, it's going, okay, so we want you to pull this piece off the shelf and that piece off the shelf and that piece off the shelf. And what happens is a person will go and they will pull those pieces off the shelf and then put it back on their own machines. So the key is that the material doesn't leave the initial facility that it's stored in. It goes back on a robot in the facility and it gets cut on a custom basis to your order and then drop shipped directly to you. And that happens in this case at 4 different manufacturers. So people are pulling the material, people are putting it on the machine, and people are running the machine. The benefit of the machine is simply that it can handle more data and enable us to address more orders faster. And so I guess that's all to say that I'm very, very interested in putting money in the pockets of people in my local economy and supporting them. And I believe that this is a way to do it that's scalable and that also takes waste off their floor.
Yes, of course. And also because I think that it's not about replacing people, it's about maybe supporting them. Also because, I mean, the algorithm and the data are made from the people. I mean,
Exactly.
I don't know, I like more this kind of, this color rather than this one. I mean, all the collection of this data made at the end more maybe the algorithm. I mean, I'm talking about colors because I'm not a designer. I cannot talk about maybe the design of a piece, but I mean, it's the all together, or this, all this, the things, all this data that then makes the algorithm and helps that. And so this is kind of interesting. And another topic that I would like to talk about is the collaborative way that Stackabl work with. I mean, it's not every company that offers a service wants all the designers to work with. I mean, everybody can try the configurator. I don't know if I explain well, but it's like that. Everybody can be part of Stackabl, and this is the good part, I think.
Well, thank you. And we feel very strongly about that too. Look, I would say that what we've done is we've created a series of rules, and those rules they're based on design, right? So our system has a very specific form logic. It's sort of unabashedly, about taking felt offcuts and clamping them together to make things, right? So you look at the system and you're like, well, clearly, Stackabl made the system, and what we're doing is we're giving people leeway to play within that system, within those rules. And so, and in the process of doing that, they can pick their own colors, they can pick their own sizes and specifications with flexibility. But the best part about it is that by enabling people to do that in real time, we're able to give them pricing feedback. Okay, so and I'll just explain right now in the world of collectible design, quote unquote collectible design, where in theory, collectible designers are making pieces that are new or conceptually different, right? and small batch. In this case, we're doing that, but where we're different than some of the others is that if you buy a collectible piece from a gallerist, let's say, and you want to make a change to it, you have to
Yes.
go to the gallerist, then they go to the artist or designer,
Yes.
and then often they have to talk to their own vendors and supportists, or pardon me,
Hmm.
artisans, and then come back to the person who requested the change, and that can take a month. And
Yes.
often to make a custom change is a really expensive thing,
Yeah.
especially if you consider that tooling has probably already been made for the core size. It can be a multiple of two, in some cases, or three even, to make a custom thing at that scale. And so what we argue is that by enabling people to have the ability to configure in real time, they can get exactly what they want, and they can make their design decisions around price. So if I want to, let's say I'm a young collector and I want
Yes.
to, I don't have the budget for a $10,000 piece. I have a budget for a $3,000 piece. In theory, I can go on to the interface and I can design around my budget. And that's very new when it comes to collectible design. And we want to encourage people to collect. We want to encourage people to surround themselves with things that stand for ideas. And we're hopeful that this platform will enable them to do that.
Yeah, of course. And well, actually, I want to ask you how this may be also. How do you see Stackabl also in the future? In the future, maybe 5 years. Let's talk in the maybe 5 years and then 10 years. How do you see Stackabl in this range of time?
That's a great question, and we're thinking about that already. So my background is architecture,
Yes.
and I am quite keen on going up in scale to apply the current system to the realm of architecture. And I would say that over time, my hope is that we test more and more materials, gradually increase the scale and the complexity of what we're doing, so that we can eventually broach that realm and that scale.
Yeah.
And if we can do that in 5 years, I think we've won. And that, at the scale of architecture, doesn't necessarily mean that we're using recycled 2x4s or anything like that. But what it
Yeah.
does mean is that we can work specifically with vendors who have sustainable products and keep digital inventories of them. And if we can do that and build design systems around those things that you can then configure, I think we win.
Yeah. And also this will help maybe the manufacturer of a lot of places in the world. I think it's not also only helping the designers, but only also helping companies and manufacturers that works and have this kind of wastes at the end, and maybe doesn't know how then to work with. I believe.
Precisely. When we're talking specifically about waste products, sometimes
Yeah.
it's more expensive to throw things away than to give it away.
Yeah.
And
Of course.
so, in this case, if we grow, we might be able to alleviate some of that burden from manufacturers, not
Yeah.
to mention freeing up their space and unlocking some additional manufacturing opportunities. But at the scale of buildings or structures, I think it's more about it's more about new product that is sustainably made and building systems around that.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to thank you, Jeffrey, for this talk, and I'm happy to understand maybe better a bit of Stackabl, and also if it's a little bit maybe more difficult than on other design processes than already met, but this is really interesting, and I wish to see you in April in the at Milan Design Week, and or soon in other design events. And thank you very much, Jeffrey, and have a good day over there.
Thank you very much, Maria. Great to speak with you. We're big fans of Isola, and we hope to see you at the fair soon.
Okay, thank you. Bye bye.
Okay, bye-bye.